Through Adversity is sponsored by MVS Autos, keeping you on the road. MVS Autos offer a range of vehicle services including MOT, servicing, repairs, welding, diagnostics, aircon and much more. Based in Wormley, serving all of Bristol and surrounding areas. For 10% discount, quote TAP MVS when booking. From the Veterans Army, Ryan, welcome to Through Adversity.
Cheers, mate. Thanks for having me on.
That's all right, mate. I mean, it's not as if we don't know each other, is it? Like we go back how far now? It's about a year, no, a couple of years, isn't it?
A couple of years now, yeah.
So we met through that magical app, TikTok.
Yeah.
So before we get to the politics involved on TikTok, I want to sort of go through. I mean, you've sent me a few things you've done of the different adversities that you've faced, and if I was to spend the next half an hour listing what you've been through, we'd run out of time on this episode. So we'll let it come out from you. How old are you now, right?
36.
36. So you spent the last 20 years being really, really busy.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it doesn't look like you stopped. So, mate, let's go back a little bit. Back to a little Ryan when you were hatched. How was childhood like for you? What I know you joined the army, obviously, but what prompted that decision? What was it led you down that path to make that decision and go, I'm going in?
So I come from, we weren't well off at all. You know, my mum kind of went to uni whilst I was a young lad. So I actually had two jobs when I was like 12. I worked in a butcher's and I worked at my uncle's restaurant, waiting tables like 4 nights a week. So I was generating my own money. And fortunately, one of the things my mum was adamant about is that we were from a poor area, but I was going to go to a good school. So I went to like a very posh secondary school where I'm from. It's like one below, I think, the pay to go. So I found myself like surrounded by all these rich kids and we were poor. Like we didn't have, like, you know, we weren't hungry, but we were poor. And I very quickly realised I didn't fit in. And I come from a rough area. My mentality, like, you know, you're always fighting, growing up on the streets around in Great Lever and stuff where I'm from is rough. You know, you're always scrapping, you're always up to no good. So I'm in this really good environment with posh kids. And I very quickly found out that if I escalated things to violence, I got what I wanted. And I turned into a bit of a wanker. Oh, well, we're not swearing. So I turned into a bit.
You could say wanker, mate. It's in the English dictionary. It's fine.
Yeah. So I turned into, by no fault of my own, really, like kind of a product of my environment, a bit of a bully, and a bit of a not nice guy. And I was getting in trouble a lot, but I didn't fit in, and I never felt like I fitted in as a child.
Can I ask a question on that one?
Yeah.
Was that because they made you feel unwelcome, or because you didn't feel like imposter syndrome? Did you feel as if you didn't belong there?
It was a bit of both. So it was like, you know, you didn't have, and it sounds stupid now as an adult, but like you didn't have the right coat. You didn't have the right, as an example, like my mum used to say, I can buy you school shoes for £20, or there's the £20. If you want school shoes that are more than that, you put the money to yourself. But my mates were all cutting around in Rockports, which are like nearly 200 quid when you're a kid. There's no way on this planet like I'm buying a pair of Rockports. And if I was, like, you know, that's 2 weeks' wages for me.
Yeah.
And like I wanted to have school dinners because you look like you were poor if you had like my mum used to send us stuff with like a packed lunch with like sandwiches in a cellophane bag. Couldn't get them out because, like, as an example, like one of the kids I knocked about with, his ancestor created the tea bag at the school. Do you know what I mean? This is the kind of environment I'm in. Like one of the girls in my year, her dad was like one of the founders of AO. Got dropped off in a Bentley every day and stuff, and I'm getting like 2.5 buses to school on a free bus pass
with a packet of fish paste sandwiches in your lunchbox.
Mate, that was like Christmas fish paste. So I didn't feel like I fit in.
Yeah,
and I just wasn't right in that environment. Like the rich kids were doing things I couldn't do. They had access to things I didn't have access to. They were all like going out at each other's houses at the weekends and stuff. But they lived like, I had to get 2 buses to get to the school. So I weren't getting invited to these places. Then as a byproduct of that, I was like starting fights at school. People didn't then want to hang around with me, and I didn't understand why. I thought it's because I was poor, but actually it's not, because I weren't a nice guy. And I had my small group of friends that, you know, that was fine. You know, we all got on, but bigger picture, I just wasn't great in that school. It was just not probably the right environment for me. However, the educational side of things was really good. I just never felt like I fitted in there. And there was always just this, I had this sense of, this isn't my tribe. This isn't where I'm meant to be.
Academically, you fitted in okay. You could compare with them academically.
Yeah.
But it was just a case of socially, you didn't really fit in with their circle.
Yeah. And 100%. And as a child, social's all that matters. Doesn't matter that academically, you know, in academia, we're in the same set, some are doing stuff and I'm doing better than other people. It just matters that, you know, I'm wearing Mackenzie loafers and everyone's got Rockports, or, you know, I've got a remote mobile phone where you pull the aerial at the end and everyone else has got like a Nokia 3210. It's one of them. Like,
you actually have mobiles at school. When I was at school, they weren't even invented. 1985. In fact, the Motorola it came with a trailer with a battery in it. I think that's the first one that got invented. So school. So did you see it out though? Did you get it through to the exams?
so I went all the way through to my exams. But what I'd already done is my granddad, he joined the Merchant Navy when he was like 12, traveled around the world and stuff. And he was a big impacting factor in my life as a kid. Like, he retired very early and he looked after me and my brothers while my mum was at uni and my mum was working. And my mum's husband at the time. So he was like the patriarch of our family and he brought us up. And I got brought up on these stories of him traveling around the world. Like, he'd done time in a Mexican chain gang for knocking out a mounted policeman in Mexico.
Really?
And they locked him up, made him do like service. He was breaking rocks and stuff with 2 other Brits, and he got tuberculosis, and that's the only reason they let him out. They put him on like a tuberculosis ship and shipped him out because they didn't want him in the country, kind of thing. Obviously, this is years and years and years ago. So I grew up with this sense of adventure from my granddad, and I was like, he's lived the life, this guy. And then on the other side of my family, everyone had served, so the military was always kind of. And I only found out later on in life that every male in my direct line, but my dad, for like the last 140 years has been in the army in some capacity, even if it's just national service.
That's a hell of a sort of succession, isn't it? Going back all that time.
So like I didn't realize that until much later on in life when I had a bit of time and I looked into it. But I'd just always been kind of drawn to the military. It was always somewhere I wanted to go. And then I kind of fell in love with the romance. And I can remember the exact book which like I fell in love with the military. It's called Beau Geste. I've spoke about it before. And it's like about French Foreign Legion back in the day in Algeria and stuff. And like just reading it, and some Brits had escaped England and they were well off to join the Legion to start again. And these guys, like, they nailed it. They started again, and they could reinvent themselves the person that they wanted to be, and like, you know, walking through the villages with the medals on and that, and everyone looked up to them and stuff. And that's what I wanted. I just wasn't happy with who I was, and I wanted this. I fell in love with the romance side of the military. Like, you know, I can go away, I can be a better person, I can be about something bigger than myself. Medals on my chest, you know. Yeah. Women will want to fuck me, guys will want to be me. This is the life.
They're all going to want to fuck you, mate. So yeah, you're right. I mean, there's always a film or a book or something which romanticizes the whole point of being in the forces. For me, it was I was 15 and I just watched the first Rambo film, First Blood.
Yeah.
And he'd just gone on that escape, and that was escape and evasion at its best. And that's me. I've got to join the army because I was doing nothing. I thought I've got to join. I was 16, 1985 that was, and that's what prompted my sort of like journey towards the forces. So yeah, there's always something which is like a catalyst, isn't there, which makes you think, it triggers something which is deep down in there, which is waiting to be set off, isn't it?
Yeah. So I'd already got my place in the Army Foundation College before I sat my GCSEs. So then, obviously being a good bloke, I decided to basically chin them off. Like, I think one of them I turned up half cut because England had played France the night before and stuff. Yeah. Like an idiot, because I was like, I don't need GCSEs. I got the army. I still got good GCSEs, but you know, I did rod it off right at the last minute, and unfortunately, it doesn't work like that because I went to the foundation college and they make you do maths and English there anyway. So
yeah. So you went in at 16?
Yeah.
Was it 15 and 3/4 or 16 on the nose?
16. I was 16 in the April, and my intake was the September.
Oh wow, so just 16 and a half then, or just under, yeah. So first day of the army. I mean, this is something I've not spoke to anyone about just yet. I mean, if you're going in as we call it junior leaders back then, but it's a slightly different thing now. Talk us through that. The let's call it the sort of 24-hour period when you're going from home as a civvy, and then you wake up the next morning as someone that's in training. That's a hell of a transition. That's a rapid 24 hours, isn't it?
Yeah. So I remember, like, you got your joining instructions. You had to travel in a suit. And I thought, it's because it's important. But now I know it's just so the DS can ping you at the train station.
Yeah.
But at the time, I thought it was like a big deal. So I got on the train in Bolton to go to Manchester. And then I had to get one from Manchester to Leeds. And there was no one on the platform at Bolton in a suit with a bag. So I was like, okay. Then in Manchester, I seen like a couple of guys get on.
Yeah.
I know a few of the stops, you see like a couple of people get on with a suit and a bag, and then you get to Leeds train station, and like on the transfer there, I'm like, am I doing the right thing here? And actually, like, my mum ran the book on how long I would last in basic training.
Did she?
She started it amongst my family. Yeah, she
Yeah.
had 2 weeks. Like,
Oh, really?
no one thought I was going to make it in the army. Like, and this has been like the pinnacle throughout my career. Everyone had doubted I would do things that I did within the army, because they were like, he's a nice guy. He's a bit of I was a jack lad, you know, probably a bit too soft is what people thought, or, you know, I was in for a shock and it weren't going to work for me. Yeah. So obviously you have the anxiety if I'm making the right decision here, and it's a big step. You know, you're 16. For me, obviously, I'd have jobs and stuff before, but for some of the lads, it's the first time they'd ever left home. Like the first time I'd ever left home on my own when I was a kid, I used to go to Ireland. So it's all right, because my mum would put me on ferry as a foot passenger or a plane, and my family would meet me the other end. But I'd done a bit of travelling. Some of the lads had never left home. Like the first time I left home was to go to recruit selection centre. So like I got to Leeds and I was full of anxiety, I remember, but I was excited for it. And then there's a few people here then with suits on.
Nervous chatter between you, sort of like you're acknowledging each other, but you're not really speaking, are you?
Joining the army? You joining the army? Yeah, I'm joining the army as well. And then it's like, what are you joining? Everyone's like, I'm going to be a commando. I'm like, yeah. And then there's just some like full screw at the time you thought was a god, who's obviously been dicked
and
with
he's probably about 5'6".
Been dicked with weekend duty. And he's there with this minibus, and he was like, right, Harrowing Foundation College, get on. And we got there, and I was like, right, okay. So obviously it's a commute from Leeds to Harrogate in the minibus, and he didn't engage with us at all. And I'm like, oh, okay, where's this going? There's still a bit of chat, but you don't really know anyone, and you kind of. I was trying to chat, a bit of nervous chat, but at the same time, you're like, I don't really know what's going on. And then I remember I got to the main gates, they'd let us through, and they took us to, there was like a sorting centre, and they were like, right, what's your name? And obviously in all the films, when you're watching, you know, like, what's your name? It's like, oh, everyone goes with the last name, don't they? So I was like, Yates, thinking I was in front of the curve. Yeah. They went, what's your last name?
Oh shit!
So I went, Ryan.
Yates.
So I went, Ryan.
Yates.
Don't
Ryan.
know why I did it. I just panicked. It went, Yates, Ryan, and I was like, oh god.
No, Ryan Yates. Oh shit.
And I was like, I think someone. And then I said like, oh, somebody out there said that I was going to first platoon.
Yeah.
And he's like, first platoon? Why is it first platoon? I was like,
oh no,
I don't know. He's like, no, you're in 1 platoon Waterloo Company. I was like, all right, and trust me, you won't be the first in anything. I was like, all right, great.
Here we go. Started. So you know what you said about being in that minibus? You're in this weird zone, aren't you, where your head is kind of like you're numb. You don't know what to expect. It's like being in the back of a police car just after being arrested, because you don't quite know what to expect. You're thinking, what's next? What's going to happen when I get off this bus? We were in the back of a Bedford.
Yeah,
ours was, it goes back in like 88. So you know, wasn't cold. So you go in there, you made a right hash job of your name, you got it right eventually into 1 platoon. So the first day's chaos, isn't it?
Yeah, and like literally, then it was just like I got thrown a tracksuit, which was a Waterloo Company platoon, like company tracksuit, 1 platoon insignia on it, and they were like, literally, right, here's this, sign this, and I was like, okay, and I signed loads of stuff, and effectively, before I'd even like been, you know, said hello by the army, they charged me for my company tracksuit. So I just signed a waiver that said they could take the money for the tracksuit out of my first wages. Didn't know that. And they were like, right, took me up to the platoon lines, and then there was like 4 section commanders, and he's like, right, you're going to be in 4 section. He took me in, and I was in like the last bed space. I was the last bod in 1 platoon, like obviously with a Y. There was no one else after me, so I was in like, I got put in my section, and we were just kind of abandoned.
Yeah. And
more people came in, and we were chatting, like, you know, and then some lads have been in cadets, some kind of had an idea what was going on. And you're like, what is going on here? Like, I don't really know what's going on. And there was no information. There's no like, there's no one shouting at you, but there's no one giving you direction at all of what's going on. And I was like, oh god. And obviously, from the DS's point of view, well, they're intaking 50 bods, so they're busy. Yeah. But you're sat there at 16 thinking, what's going on here? Like, no one even cares I exist.
But the advantage you had, mate, against them was you had 140 years worth of blood and genetics drilled into you, which you didn't even know was in there.
Exactly that. Yeah. So, and then we were not, like, the first day was relatively easy. People come around, like, this is your bed space. Yeah. We got some bedding, which we had to sign for. You got, like,
bed
scratchy
blocks?
Blankets. Say again?
Bed blocks?
Yeah, so we had scratchy blankets, but you only had them for the first 6 weeks, and then once you passed into the college, you could, everyone had to have the same, but you could get a quilt then.
Oh,
and I've bedding, but you have to pay for it, and obviously everything costs 50 quid in the army all the time.
yeah.
So you paid 50 quid for a single duvet, sheet, and cover, so the boys could have on the lash opportunity stuff, because they only went there to Tesco's. I think we're stupid. So like, I got my first night, and then I remember the first learning curve. The biggest thing for me in the morning was bang, the light was on. Section commander was there in his towel. Right, come on, get your wash kits. I'm like, right, okay.
In his towel.
In his towel.
Was it really short?
No.
Wrapped around his waist.
No, that came on later. You had to earn that. So he come in and he's like, right. And then every section commander was the same with their section. And they took us into the ablutions. And obviously, in Harrogate, they were huge. And he was like, right, I'm going to teach you how to wash. And he literally washed. He washed, then you washed. I'm going to teach you how to brush your teeth. I'm thinking, I know how to do this. I'm going to teach you how to shave. And there's lads going, I don't shave. And he's like, you do now. And then next thing, you're like, you know, he whacks his dick out. This is how you wash your cock. Don't be grotty.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fucking, I'm what is going on here? Like that.
I'm staring at this man's cock.
I'm like, why am I seeing an adult penis here? Why is it in the sink? Like,
is this okay?
Like, and literally, like, right, you've done that now, into the shower. And he like made sure everyone showered properly. He was in the shower. They say, do it, wash, like, make sure you washed everywhere. Make sure you get right up your ass and stuff. You know, don't be a grot. And I was like, oh, God, what? I did not expect this. I thought someone was going to trust that I can like wash.
Because you get some lads come in there who just don't know how to keep clean, do you?
Yeah.
And we had the same thing on us. They said to us, right, in the morning when you get up, we're going to get you revalued. We didn't know how severe it was going to be. Won't ever forget it. Light come on, like, get your fucking beds. Oh, and you're all in a state of shock. Right, get yourself shaved. If you don't shave, you start shaving today. Yeah. Luckily, I've just been shaving about there, maybe a little bit here. I started shaving everywhere after that. And yeah, it just, everything that you weren't expecting hits you on that. The first morning, that first Revali, you realize you're in the army. You think, oh my God, what have I done?
And then it was like, get ready, get dry, get your company tracksuit on, get felling outside. Or we don't even know how to fall in. So you're getting thrashed because you're not felling. Okay. Then we went to like breakfast, and it was like, right, because back when I joined the army, and the same for you, like your food came out your pay. Yeah. So it was like, this is a Queen's Parade. You will not miss a meal. Like if you miss a meal, you can be charged. So don't be like trying to think you can stay in bed and miss breakfast. Unacceptable. So like we're like, wow. So then like we're in, and then it's that thing, and people still say to me now, mate, no one's going to take that food from you. You can slow down. Still to this day. Yeah, but like, because they used to go, right, you've got 10 minutes for 50 of you to get through.
Exactly.
And then they'd walk to the front of the queue, get fed, and they're eating, and you're still in the queue. And the next thing,
looking at the clock, thinking, I've got to be on parade in 10 minutes.
He's getting up to put his tray away. You've just sat down, so you're pushing food, like just a bit of warm scran in your mouth. Yeah. And I was like, well, what's going on? And then lads were bringing like apples and stuff out. Right, that's theft. You can't steal from the cookhouse. Yeah. Guys like, oh, what? Yeah. So you're getting another rollicking. I'm like, oh my God. And then haircuts came. And I was like, I've had my haircut. Vroom. Now you've had your haircut, mate. Yeah. I went with an haircut. I went with a mullet, business at the front, party at the back, mate. That's what I had before I joined the army. And I got shot back and sides thinking, this will be all right. Nah. Yeah, no. Like 3 all over. That was that.
Really?
And I was just like, day one, I'm just like, right, I've been shown how to wash. I've got this Queen's Parade where I've got to eat food. I've got to inhale it, like a Dyson. And then I've got to have these ridiculous haircuts. Everything costs 50 quid. And I've not even ended day one yet.
Yeah. And the thing with eating, is just so people can understand it who haven't served, is the pressure you've got. So you'll finish your morning, let's say drill, okay? And you might be in a certain get-up. You march back to your block, and the platoon or squadron leader will say, okay, lads, fall out, back here in half an hour, dressed for PT. So if so you shoot off into your room, go and get your mess tins, run down or march down to the cookhouse in pairs as quick as you can, get in there, queue up for what seems like forever, and you've got to do all that in less than the time is given you, because you've got to be back and be ready 5 minutes before you need to be there. So in fact, if you get maybe 15, 20 minutes top to do what should take about 45 minutes. Yeah. And that's why we eat fast. Some up there has got to be compromised, and that is the enjoyment factor.
Food is fuel. You just shovel it in, like you just get it in there,
get it in fast. Bite it once, break it down a little bit, and just swallow it and get on with it.
Yeah, it's mad. Like, and people still know to me say, like, if I go out for a meal or something, like, and I'll try and consciously make an effort to be a bit slower, and I'm still the fastest person at the table. It's just, I'll never move that now. It's just impossible.
The funny thing is, Coming out of time slightly, when we were at the Veterans Ball the other
Yeah.
week, if anyone ever goes to a Veterans Ball, the plates are clean, but the staff cannot be around quick enough. The plates are empty before they finish bringing the food out, aren't they? They're
Yeah.
gone. Yet the partners are still there nursing their food. Yet all the squad is, it's gone. It's there.
Yeah.
It's finished. I look around thinking, yeah, it's all gone. Polished done. In fact, you're eating your partner's food just to speed it all up a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's bad.
it's mental. So basic training. How long was it for? 14 weeks?
No, so Harrogate, because of your age, you do 42 weeks. So you get 10 weeks leave. So it's 52 weeks. It's a year. And that's where the junior leader concept comes from, because you actually spend a lot more time going over like weapon drills, basic infantry tactics. We spent 9 of the 42 weeks. No, sorry, 12 of the 42 weeks in the field on different exercises with different objectives for different periods of time, stuff like that. You also do a bit of education, but a lot of it is spent, you go really in depth on like, porpoise or 6-action battle drills, like how to do a company level attack, platoon attack, purse fire maneuver, section fire move. So you spend a lot of time going over your weapon drills, how to lay out your own kit, how to rig out your belt kit and stuff. And that's where I think the junior leaders aspect comes, because you spend so much more time doing it. You can give fire control orders, you can understand the fire control order, you know how to break the ground down, because you spend all this time doing it in like fieldcraft.
Yeah.
Whereas
and at that age as well, where you're so young, you're learning it so quickly, and you do make better soldiers. You got a much more comprehensive understanding of how the military is and all the drills. It's just so much compared to me. Did 8 weeks basic. That was it. Then 8 weeks trade. Then I'm off.
Yeah, because it's like, it's just basic things like how much range time can you get in 8 weeks?
Yeah,
because we were on the ranges a lot. Yeah. So I understand the junior leader aspect from back in the day. And I do believe still that, a better level of soldier has to come from these establishments, because you spend so much more time in the environment, just in the learning environment. By a knock-on effect, a little bit more's got to rub off you than the world getting thrown at you in 8 weeks for you to pass off the square to go to phase 2.
Yeah, and it is pretty much, that's why it's basic training, isn't it? It really is pretty fucking basic stuff. So you got through your training. So did you know what unit you were going to go to? Was that all mapped out and planned for you?
So I always say I'm unlucky, but like this really was like a bit of luck for me. So when I went to the careers office in Bolton, I like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I want to join the infantry. And they were like, no, mate, you've got an education. You don't want to do that. Like, come and watch this video and see if there's anything that you like. And whilst I was in there, I seen a video of these guys in a full subsurface OP in Bosnia. And I was like, I want to do that. And this guy was like, well, you can't do that. You've got to have been in the army and served 2 years minimum before you can apply for selection to that unit. And you've got to get through a selection course. And I was like, right, okay. So what do I do then? And he's like, well, their artillery cap badge, but it's tri-service. So Army, Navy, Royal Marines, everyone served in my unit, but the parental cap badge was artillery. Yeah. And I was like, pulled my face, and he was like, that's what everyone does. But fortunately, like, this guy had an experience in my unit, and he was like, mate, if that's what you want to do, then you need to join the artillery, because, there is a lot of future in that organisation. And I was like, right. So I went to Harrogate as artillery cap badge, and then my platoon sergeant was 2-9 commando. Yeah. And he was like, well, we'll take you from the off.
Oh, really?
And I was like, oh, okay. He said, you just go, if you can pass the commando course, you can pass the commando course. And he had friends in 473 as well. Yeah. So I was like, oh God, do I just do the whole thing where I just go to 2-9 then? And randomly there was, and it never happened from my unit, but there was a platoon sergeant in another company from 473. Yeah. And I bumped into him in the scoff house, cookhouse, where we get food. And just for anyone who doesn't know what scoff house is.
The restaurant.
Yeah. Bistro. And I was like, excuse me, sir, are you 473? And he's like, yeah. I said, oh, I'm interested in joining. He said, oh, come and see me. He was in another company lines and stuff. So I went and saw him, and he was like, under no circumstances let yourself be deviated from this. Like, and I still know the guy now. He's like, really, like, I'm quite pally with him. Like, he's a really good guy. He was like, don't let anyone deviate you. Like, if that's what you want to do. I was like, oh, but I'm too young. Like, he's like, right, okay, well then go to 5 Reg. Go to 5 Reg and be in at least you're in the right location for when you're old enough to start. Yeah. And I was like, right, okay. And that was that. So I was going to go to 5 Reg. And then whilst I was in Harrogate, 473 changed its policy because they had a manning issue. That not enough people were passing selection. So they opened it up and said, if you can come and pass selection from phase 2, you can be in the unit.
Okay.
So
Good timing.
Like, yeah. So I was like, right, this is what I'm doing. So I turned up to phase 2. I'm going to be join 473, and everyone's like, you're not. Like, no, I am. No, you're not. You're going to fail like everybody else does who goes.
Oh, really? So
And I
that
was
was
like,
that was the bit that said, no, fuck you, I'm going to pass
yeah.
this.
And I was like, right, okay. And they were like, I'm not being funny. You're not going to do it. Like the attrition rate on that course is horrendous. I was like, right, okay. He's like, you've not got the, and there's like marginal. There's not a 10%. My course as an example was a 10% pass rate.
Is it?
60 started and 6 passed. So I was like, right, okay. So then, whilst I was down at Larkhill, I had to go and do things like specialist PT with the guys from 29 Commando and 7 RHA and stuff like that. And I was getting thrashed all the time. Oh, where's the wannabe 473 and stuff? And I was like, right, okay. Like, but I was in training, and this is, and I swear that the reason I passed the selection is just because I didn't know I could quit.
Yeah, that's always handy to have, isn't it? In that environment.
I just didn't know. I didn't know that was a thing in the army. I didn't know there was a procedure for that.
You didn't realise it was a PVR or...
Yeah. So I'm just getting thrashed down at phase 2. And I'm like, right, okay, this is just who it is. So my phase 2 was really short. I did a signals level 2 course, a driving course, got my driving license at 17. And then I was up to the unit. So I was like, mega. And I got to the unit at like in the November time. And the Sergeant Major in charge was like, you've just done your signals level 1 course. I was like, yeah. He's like, right, signals level 2 course started 2 days ago. You're going on that. Everyone from, and he was like, everyone from this unit becomes top student. Yeah. And I was like, right, is he serious?
No pressure then.
Level 2's just started, and I've just passed level 1 last week.
Yeah.
So I went and did the level 2 course.
Yeah.
And then it was like 2 weeks of camp admin, Christmas leave, and I was on selection.
Wow. Quick turnaround then. So how old were you then when you got into that? 17. That's young, mate, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it? Was there anyone younger than you?
I am still the youngest person to date to pass selection for 4.
Are you?
Yeah.
If there was a button I could push with a clap on it, let me see if there's a magic button I can press. Hang on a minute, mate. I'm sure it's meant to be clapping right now.
Don't let me down now.
I'm not going to. Hang on, let me try it. Is it clapping? I don't know how I did that, but anyway.
That was good, mate.
First time, everyone, I found the clap. No, in fact, there are other times, but that's different. So, youngest person to achieve that. So, from that point on, military career, give us a synopsis and let's see where we can pick up on various parts.
So, well, I started selection, and everyone, including everyone within the unit, were like, "You're not going to pass. You're not going to pass." And I can probably say it now because it's like enough time is spent. But I actually failed an eye test. I'm CP4, and you had to be CP2 to go into my unit.
Oh no!
And I was like devastated. And the Sergeant Major in charge, who was like a legend within the unit, he was like, "I'm not having you walk around this camp telling people that you would have passed selection at 17 because you're not going to if it weren't for your eyes." So he's like, "I'll put you on the course. You pass the course, and I'll get this paperwork changed." Because for him, it was a sure bet. It was never going to happen.
Yeah.
And I was like, right, okay, mega. Like, and that was another bit of fuel. And then, like, I turned up day 1 for selection, and there was, like, infantry recce platoon sergeants there going, "What are you doing here?"
Yeah.
And I'm like,
wee hairless sprout who's just come out of basic.
in my issue boots, like, they've all got their own boots, and I've got G10 for men boots on.
Oh.
Like, they've got windproof smocks and windproof trousers, and I'm, like, issue tissue, not got a clue what's going on. And I was just... From the very start of the course, it was always, you are not going to pass. So I just adopted this mentality of, well, I'll just stay until I get failed. Because everyone, people get stand-up failed on badging day in my unit.
Yeah.
Like, you're just not right, your face don't fit, sorry. And like, at the end of every week, they were doing like, who do you think shouldn't be on this course? And people would be like, Yates, he's too young, Yates, he's too inexperienced. Like,
was that the only reason they gave though? Too young, inexperienced. Did they get on with you outside that, or was there a lot of rivalry? Were they gunning for you, or were they just?
I don't think they were gunning for me. I think so. The first part of selection for us is the hills phase. So you're just in groups, and that's just about hanging out your ass, surviving. The first few marches are all DS led, and then it's like known distance, unknown time, and you're pretty much under your own steam. So during the hills, you're kind of almost your own entity.
Yeah.
Because you get up, you pack your kit, you do your kit inspections, and then you just got to get around the hills. Yeah. So if you're on like group marches, you just got to not fall behind.
Yeah.
And if you're on an independent march, you just got to keep going. You don't even care. You get on a Bergen train almost, because once you get up onto proper into the mountains, you can see people that are kind of in front of you, and you look at, in my Bergen, they go on the same checkpoint as me, kind of thing. Right, I'm just gonna follow them. That can also lead you into despair. But so the hills phase, because we didn't really get to know each other. People were quite. It was easy to go, he shouldn't be on this course. Plus, I didn't know anyone. Like most people who come on selection, they at least knew one person, or they knew someone that they'd served with that had come from another unit, or they had family or whatever. So I was just a bit of an easy target during the hills phase. But once we finished the hills, we'd lost 20 people on the hills.
Really? And you were still going. So it shows that you had something, didn't it?
Yeah, it stopped then. People kind of were like, well, he's still here.
Yeah,
and
we've
like
lost some of the guys.
Yeah, and a lot of the people that weren't still there, they'd VW. So on our course, it was voluntarily withdraw from the course. Yeah. So these were people that coming in and rapping.
Yeah.
So I think
they knew they could quit.
Yeah, because they knew the procedure. So I just think then that people kind of give me a bit. Well, he's still here. Let's see where it goes, kind of thing. And after like the hills phase, that whole who shouldn't be here thing stopped. But it was in my mind, and I just kind of went. I went on the course thinking I'm going to fail. But what I wanted to do is get as far into the course as I can for experience, so that when I fail, I can go away, better myself, and come back and just learn as much as I can from however far I got. And it just so happened that I never failed. I never got that.
So you got through it.
Yeah.
So during that course, did you find anything difficult?
Yeah, everything. Yeah, still to this day, genuinely, to this day, it's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Really?
Like,
what sort of mileage are you talking when you're doing the hills? What sort of miles are you talking?
So just for test week, as an example, you do a 10 mile a day one. Then day one, you do a night nav. Day two, you do an 18k. Day three, you do a 22k. Day four, you do a 57k endurance march over the mountains of Scotland. Each one of those is known time, unknown distance. Sorry, known distance, unknown time. All of them are individual led by the endurance march and the 10 miler. At any point, you've all those things. You've got like checkpoint drills in and stuff like that. Yeah, you're carrying between 40 and 50 kilos on your back.
That's a fair bit. How? Because you're what, you sort of 5'11", 6 foot.
I'm 5'11".
So you're quite tall, aren't you? You're quite well set. Were you of a similar stature then when you were younger? I guess you were a little bit smaller back then, weren't you?
I was skinny. I was a little racing snake by the time I got to the unit. Genuinely, I think I weighed about 80 kilos. So it was like half my body weight, if not more. Yeah. Any water you wanted to drink, you had to carry yourself. And that was extra weight. So that was like 40 kilos, not including drinking weight, plus drinking water and food. And then on our endurance march, like we've done 57 Ks, got to a point, everyone's heart fell because we knew the routes by this point. And we're like, we're nowhere near a car park. And they pulled a stretcher out. And they were like, right, chuck your Bergens on the minibus. And then it's just stretcher racing. And then that was like, mate, that was the first 4 weeks.
Shit.
And before that, you're just doing miles and miles and miles every day, just getting it on your legs. And then like that was just the past the hills phase to go on to basic patrols. Yeah. And it just went from there. You're just like, holy God. Isn't
it? So once you got through that then, and you eventually get to the unit that you wanted to go to, how was life when you got to your regiment then?
It was good. Like, I kind of thought that, once you're in the unit and you're not. Nah. It doesn't work like that. Like,
start taking the real shit then, don't you?
Yeah. And I just thought they were going to be like, one of us, jingle, jangle, one of us. Like, no, man, it's not that at all.
You drink this pint of piss.
Yeah, like, you do not exist. You are no better than when you were non-badged. You're a bit like, and so it was the whole, like, we started getting incorporated into the patrols then, working with people that were already in the unit. And that's where the lads really, really bring you on. And my unit's really good for stuff like that. It's like dead man's shoes promotion-wise as well. So everyone is a subject matter expert and everyone knows to the nth degree their rank, the jobs on their rank, the jobs above them and the jobs below them. Mm-hmm. And we really started then getting continuation training, which lasts for 6 months. And even though you pass into the course, you can still get failed if you don't pass continuation training.
Really?
Yeah.
So what sort of year was this, right?
That was 2006.
So 2006 is a time when everything is over in the Middle East, it's all gone a
Yeah.
little bit pear-shaped, hasn't it? So
Yeah.
naturally you're in there, and this is going to be in the forefront of your mind, isn't it? You must be thinking, we're going out there. You must.
So, like, the golden carrot for my course was, if you finish the course, they were taking two members of the people that passed my course would go on Telic 9 on Brigade Surveillance Company.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this has been going. And I passed, which I probably should have said before, I passed selection like 2 days before my 18th birthday. So I was like, youngest person to pass, but I thought I can get straight on tour here. I can go straight to Iraq.
At 18.
and like, for me, I thought this was a practical like thing that might happen, but actually on reflection, there was no way on this earth they were ever sending me.
No.
Like, none. So lads went straight to Telic, and then if you didn't get on that Telic 9 tour, the lads then were training for Herrick 6. So we started then Herrick training for Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And the way my unit worked were you were either training to go on tour, because we never deployed as a unit, we deployed in patrols.
Yeah.
So we worked in 6-man patrols. And then you would say like X amount of patrols would be designated per tour. So you would either be on training to go on tour, or leave from being on tour.
On that rotation sort of thing.
Yeah, that's what it was. Like, we were involved in every Herrick from Herrick 6 till the collapse.
Yeah. So for those of the out there who don't know Herrick, so Telic is Iraq, Herrick is Afghanistan, and this is after my time. So differences between being an Afghan and Iraq, were there any or not?
So I only saw Iraq in the private sector. So for me, there was huge differences. Obviously, because it's private, it's not military. But from what the lads were saying, that had served, done Telic and Herrick, because I was a Herrick baby, so we just got bounced on Herrick.
Yeah.
There wasn't much, but the lads always used to say the difference between an Iraqi and an Afghan is that Iraqis have everything and are lazy fuckers.
Yeah.
But Afghans don't have fuck all.
But they're determined.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they haven't got the opportunities because they've got nothing. Where people in Iraq have the opportunities, they just choose not to take them.
Yeah.
And that was what everyone used to say. The difference was like same, being the same streets, doing the same stuff, and that was the differentiating factor. That in Iraq, like, they just weren't that bothered. There wasn't enough get up and go to go and do something. Where in Afghanistan, like, the famous saying for Afghan is that you'll hold all the watches, but we have all the time. Yeah. Like, they're just determined to out. Worst comes to worst, old Mujahideen tactics. We'll just wait you out.
Yeah. So talk us through a day in Afghan then.
So
a typical day, if you like, a kinetic day. Let's go for a kinetic day. Which they probably pretty much all were, weren't they, when you were over there?
Yeah. So on my first tour, it was really, really kinetic. We had the same fatality rates as career, like 1 in 4.
Really? God.
And I was attached to a rifles company, and they had like 16 dead, 48 seriously injured.
Was that 3 rifles?
4. I was attached to a company 4 rifles, but it was a 3 rifles tour.
Yeah.
But they just had a company for me from 4 rifles.
Yeah.
In Sangin, I was in Sangin. So I deployed as a battlefield casualty replacement for my friend. So my friend lost his legs and half his hand in an ID strike. So then I got mobilised. So I was training to go on Herrick 15. Yeah. And my boss then has gone, listen, we need to be a battlefield casualty replacement for Simo, and you're due. So let's just get you gone.
I will be
so I was like, that's all. For me, going on tour was different as well, because I deployed on my own. Didn't go with any of my mates. I just got told, right, in 2 weeks you go in. Yeah. Go and do some range time, pass like all the mats and whips, and then it was literally, I had 4 days at home, and they deployed me on Boxing Day.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So most normal people are thinking, oh my god, you'd have been thinking, yay, here we go. Yeah. But you'd have had this element of you just had a good friend who's been seriously injured. You got that part of you that's boxed off, isn't it, by now? Yeah. That's compartmentalized. You're not thinking about that, are you? Yeah. You're thinking about getting out on tour.
Yeah. And then I get to Afghan on my own. No one meets me at the flight line. I don't really know what I'm supposed to be doing, what bastion I'm in, nothing. And then I find out where I'm supposed to go. Someone was like, oh yeah, what are you attached to? I'm attached to these, right? These are here. And then I get there and I find out that my other mate, so I was replacing Simo, but I was going to a less kinetic AO because I hadn't been on tour before. And they'd moved someone down from a less kinetic AO, which is area operations, to where we were at, where Simo was. But in the time it took me to deploy, he'd been shot.
Oh God.
So I was like the battlefield casualty replacement for the battlefield casualty replacement. So I
Makes you
turned
think
up.
that slot's not a good slot to fill, is it? Really?
Yeah. So I get there, and he's like, "Oh, you should sleep there where they slept," and I'm like, "Great, this is
Really?
rubbish." Never been on tour before. Massive
Yeah.
expectation. But like a normal day, so a normal day for us would be obviously we'd be involved in the stags and stuff like anybody is, and then we'd go on a ground dominating patrol. So some were mission specific, some were not mission specific. Some
How
were
many
just
men in a patrol?
12 to 15.
Is that three teams of like 4, or is it as a
So
group?
what
How
we
do you
would do
break
is,
it down?
so my unit, we would split down and we would embed within an infantry section. So
Right.
there would be like one person, me, who would control like air, mortars, artillery. There'd be an MFC as well from the rifles. So like my MFC, he was like my dad on tour because he was a sweat. He'd been in every. I think he was in Waterloo.
Is
And
he the sort of person who ain't got time to bleed? Is that the sort of person?
yeah, he is, mate. He'd been to Waterloo, this lad.
Yeah.
So he was like, right, how are you feeling? I was like, yeah, nervous. I've never been on tour before. Don't know what's going on. He's like, no worries, we're gonna get you sorted. And he really developed me on tour. But my actual very first day on tour, my first ever patrol, we ended up in a gunfight for like 3 hours.
Really?
Yeah, and
So
I was like,
tell me about that. When you hear that, do you hear the crack thump? Is that your thing, or how does it start?
so
for
we were
you?
on we'd gone on a ground dominating patrol, and Afghans got like court cam roofs.
Yeah.
So you end up on the roof because you've got good like observe your arcs. You've got good field of fire and good vision. But you sit like in between the court cans because it's flat, so you can put your radio down. You know, lads can dekit a little bit, and then you can normally have guys out in like 2 corners of the building. But obviously, you've got the rest of the patrol on the ground, so they've kind of secured that space because not Afghans a lot of compounds. So you get a building, and then you have like a bit of a grassed area where they all grow poppy. Or they've got dogs or whatever. So like you're in a compound, and then what will happen is someone will lob a grenade over the wall, or someone will engage you. And what happened with us is we were chatting. Daz was like, right, mate, this is how we break the ground down. This is how we communicate back to the guns. What we're going to do is, because we're going to be here for a while, we're going to queue up some smoke points. We're going to queue up some mortar points. And he was like, kind of bring me on with that. Then all of a sudden, I just heard the crack, and this court cam roof just started just spitting mud up everywhere. And one of the friendly locals had decent eyes on, and he just popped off and was for a murder hole. Yeah. And luckily, it just hit the other side of the court cam roof, so it ripped it all up. So obviously, you're in contact then, and then I'm laid down there going, what is going on? And like everyone else is doing something, and I'm laid there, holy shit, I'm being shot at. Yeah, and everyone thinks like you're going to react really, really well and starts, like cycling your weapon and putting massive amounts of rounds down. You're laid there going, holy shit. Yeah. And Daz is like, right, send your contact report. And then as soon as he was like that, and it felt like I was laid there for like a minute, but it had been 2 seconds. Yeah. Like, it's your contact report. Bang. So then I'm on the radio, and then you just fall into your train, and your train just takes over. LOU, this is me, contact wait out. Right, bang. And you start doing your grids, everything's going down. You at the simultaneously then, like, as the field of the rate of fire increases, you start putting rounds down. Then you sending messages down the net and stuff like that. I'm getting buzzing now. Like, come on, I'm back in it, me.
Because people won't understand, and I've never been to Afghan, but I've been to Northern Ireland. And when you're on patrol and you haul up somewhere safe, like whether it's on the rooftops or whether in Ireland it be in a wood somewhere in a culvert, somewhere out of the way, is you actually get this moment of serenity, don't you? Where you don't feel like you're on tour. You're semi-cocked. But the lads are on stag, and you're just like you're sat there eating a fucking packed lunch, having a chat, taking the piss out of each other, and it just takes that, doesn't it, to change everything? Because we had an IED go off. It just goes changing, but you get that moment. We had the same thing. We just flew into secure an area with an IED went off, took out some civilians. It was some civilians on this one. We flew in. Secondary device was planned for us, so I had a 45-minute delay. We got over the slightly earlier than planned. So we landed, satellited out. We got just at the top of the hill, 100 meters away or so. Second device goes off, 500-pound bomb. And look round, you're meant to like cock your weapons and like, where's my camera? Where's my camera? Because I was the patrol photographer to get evidence. So I was looking for my camera, trying to get photographs of this cloud of dust that was going up in the air. But you get that moment where you think, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do here? But I get it, mate. So did you start getting rounds down?
Yeah, so like day 1, we were putting rounds down. I dropped smoke on day 2 of my first tour. And Daz was like, mate, not all tours are like this. Like you're here on a mad week. And then like day 3 was the first time that the locals started throwing grenades over the walls for like breakfast. So sporadically throughout the day, they just throw live grenades over the wall. So we then had to build like these HESCO like mini channels. So if it came over from the left wall, you throw yourself over it and lie down behind it. So it'd take the blast. And you're always near them. And like my first, I think, like 7 or 8 days of my first tour were every single day we were putting rounds down, we were kinetic, we were taking casualties. Our medic got hit, and then I had advanced forces team medics and done hospital placement because the level of training they do in 473 is so extreme and so good. So then it was, right, Yates, we haven't a medic. Can you come out on this patrol? Can you come out on this patrol as a medic? We don't need you to come out and do air or talk to, like, you know, UAVs and stuff. Can you come out and do the medic stuff as well? So when I started, like, my job doubled down. But then that's when people started really kind of, these guys from this unit are pretty good, aren't they? Like, he's just dropped into another role here. And then,
massive asset, aren't you?
And then within, like, I think within, like, the first 10, 12 days, I'm putting lines in people. I treated 46 casualties on that first tour. Like, everything from a quadruple amputee down to a broken pelvis, some civilians, some Afghans, some Brit forces, some Estonian as well. And guys at the end of it, like, mate, you can do everything. And I just feel massively out of my depth. And, like, I don't
but you can see the training though, the drills that you've got, and how and to be so young as well, to adapt. And I guess in most of the guys that are probably not massively older, but certainly more mature than you or more experienced, you must have felt like you belonged at last. You must have felt, this is where I belong. Not like in that school you're at. You actually felt this is my group, this is my lot.
Yeah, you do. You feel like this is my tribe, and then, like, you know, you come back from patrol and you dekit and you have your brief, and then you're having a brew and everyone's spinning dits and you're talking shit, and these are my people. This is 100% where I belong to be. And that's how I went on for my military career. Like, we bounced around, we did some really good stuff. I did 2 tours of Afghanistan. Up-teen amount of courses. Like, I'd been the jungle warfare. I did the jungle international jungle patrols course. It was just really good. It was just, but the elitism that was at my unit is like, you're only as good as your last fuck up. Like, every course you go on, you have to come top student. Like, even if you come second, you don't want to go back to the unit and say you've come second.
So did you get top every time?
No, but fortunately for me, every course I went on, the top student was like someone from 473, and then I was
so that's all right then.
Saved, because we all can't be top student.
You can say you let him have it. I'll let you have that one, mate, because like, naturally.
I come back with my first tour, and obviously I'd learned gunnery on the ground. So how to control, and everything had changed really. And then as I came home, they're like, right, mate, you've just been doing this job, which is quite a higher level than you're actually trained at. So we're going to send you on the course that you're actually supposed to do before you go on tour and do that job. Just so we've got the right ticks in the boxes kind of thing. So I smashed that because guys are learning it, and I just spent 6 months doing it. So I'm like, this, and then again, everyone's like, wow, these guys, like, where's these guys come from? But it's just, when you're in it, you don't realise. But it's when you're out of it, you see like the difference, and just everything is elitism. Everyone, like, you know, when you're in your normal unit and you go, right, I've got a BPFA today, and everyone's like, I'm just going to come in at 9.5. There is no one in 473 who says that.
You're actually doing best effort, aren't you?
You are going, and people are at the start line going,
you're the lot puking up at the end,
and I'm going to beat you, and I'm going to beat you. And like, and there's people going, if you, like, you know, Sergeant Major, like, if anyone comes in behind me working the weekend, and like, he's a racing snake, you're like, there's none of that. It's just so professional. Everything is serious. Like, we play hard, but everything is serious, and that's the kind of environment I grew up in. I was a kid, so like, that's how I learnt my life lessons. Like, you know, first breakup, I learnt it from the guys. You know, everything. Like, you know yourself what it's like in the mill. Like, I was on selection, and the first girlfriend split up with me, and I was in the minibus. And at this point, I mean, I was fucking heartbroken. Obviously, I was 17.
The first one is, mate.
The this girl was the one.
Devastating, man.
And, you know, she'd already been with a Fusilier, so she knew about their life. And
future queers.
I said, like, I told one of the lads I got pally with, I was like, oh, birds dumped me. I think she's called Lydia.
Chlamydia.
He's like,
called chlamydia.
And he's like, how you feeling? I was like, I'm a bit gutted and that. And we'd stopped at this service station. It's like the last stop before our camp in Scotland, like Strawn, where there's nothing, you don't get mobile reception. And I gone out, and I got a Burger King and that, come back moping, open the door, all the lads, and James Blunt's on Goodbye My Lover on someone's phone. And they're all singing like Goodbye My Lover to me and that. And you just start laughing. And that is just, for me, I'm like, this is me. Like, this is the art. Like, I love it. I'm still missing it now. Any problems, like, the lads can fix it instantly. And I'm there, like, my world has ended because this girl's brought me out. And then the next thing you know,
and they don't care, do they?
I've got 20 guys singing James Blunt's Goodbye My Lover, like, ragging me around the minibus and stuff. And you're happy again in 5 minutes. And
the thing is, like, they care deeply for you
Yeah.
enough to take the piss.
Yeah.
That's the difference. It's not like they don't care. It's not like they don't want us. They don't like the thoughts in the day. They do the only way they can do to make you smile is to do what they do. That's how
Yeah.
it goes, isn't it?
Yeah.
So military career was good by the signs of it. So
Yeah.
what progressed then? So you got through it. How long did you do in the forces in the end? And what brought it to an end?
So I'd done 10 years in the end.
Yeah.
Just short, 3 months short, 10 years.
Round it up.
And for me, it was just because of the way 473 was and the way I grew up in 473. Obviously, you aspire to be like, your sergeant majors and your patrol commanders and, troop sergeants and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we're all very close. We're a family. Like, we'd all have barbecues at each other's houses, stuff like that. Like, we were a family. And everyone in my kind of peer group.
How many in the unit, mate? How many people in that
so
unit?
there's less than 500 people in its entirety ever has been in 473 badged.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
It might have changed now that slightly. It might be nearer 600, but it is really, really small. So operational at the time, there was probably less than 50 guys badged. Then you've got your support staff.
So it is really, really unique then. Quite a system.
Okay. Like we had like the sergeant major in charge of the courses from the SAS and stuff.
Yeah.
And like he destroys you. Like he whittles everyone down. Like I said, 60 people started my course and 6 passed.
Yeah, it's mental, isn't it?
So my peer group, like the guys I wanted to be, the guys that had looked after me, they're all going on the circuit. And then we'd been told we were pulling out of Afghanistan because they started that peacekeeping thing where we were training the ANA, and that's not a role for our unit. And then I was like, right, okay. So I'm going to go back to muster parades, haircuts, sideburns. Well, we used to cut around with like long sideys, brown boots on when brown boots weren't a thing. And all of a sudden, we had this paper of training for tour, like, I'm on up training, whatever. It was going. Yeah. And I was like, God, and all my mates were going, and they're like, yes, you should come with us, really, because you're not going to like it here when there's no more war on. And I was like,
you were a wartime soldier, weren't you? Joined up when there was war.
Simple so I'd never really done the in-camp BS. I'd been touched by it, but I'd never experienced it on the level that other people have, where you're shoveling snow and, you're sweeping leaves in the autumn when leaves are blowing out the trees. Like, I hadn't experienced any of that. Like, I've probably done about 20 muster parades in my entire career. Yeah. So the thought of doing one every week, and I was like, all right, kit inspections, and I was like, no.
Welcome to the fucking Cold War, mate.
Yeah.
That was unreal. So that one for you, obviously not for you then, was it?
No. And so one of the lads was like, well, I've got a contract with this company coming up. When you sign off, and then when you get out, give me a shout, I'll get you a job. And that's kind of what happened. I was like, right, cool. I went and did another tour of Afghanistan because I was just on rotation to go. And I came back, a lot of my friends had gone. And then I signed off after that tour. And I knew before that tour that I should have signed off. Yeah. But that tour for me was very specific because a lad I'd been on my first tour with specifically requested me. He was like, he'd been promoted and he was putting a team together for this very high-risk job. And it was a brand new job, brand new role we just had. Our unit had adopted this role from the SAS. And the first team to go out and do it, one was killed, one was blinded, and one was partially blinded out of 6 guys. Super high risk, really fucking dangerous job. And my mate, the guy I'd just been on tour with 10 months before. So we only had 10 months off from my first tour to going straight on my second tour. Yeah. He was like, mate, I want you to come. Because you know the area, you know this, you know that.
Was it the same sort of area then you went into?
Same AOs, yeah, but we ended up being all over the show. But we started, it was relatively similar. And like, I was up to date with like the threat, IEDs and stuff. I'd gone away and done a counter IED course as well. And I won't talk too much about the job because it's still secret. But it involved putting loads of stuff in the ground and hiding stuff and taking stuff out and high risk of IED strikes and stuff. So like the first guys that done it, they were on a patrol putting some stuff out or bringing some stuff in. One of the guys, like I said, killed instantly. Guy next to him lost both his eyes, and then the other guy got like 70% blinded as well. Shit. And my mate just said like, "I want you to come on tour," and I was like, "Well, I can't say no."
No.
Because for me,
so was it that easy then for the unit of the capacity that you had to make those internal decisions? Right, yep, you're coming with me. I want you.
So basically, once that patrol was hit, it was like who's going to do the next tour, the next rotation through, and they were hit very early on in that tour. So it was like, right, okay, so who's taking over them? Because it's only 6 months. Yeah. And my mate had kind of promoted into the job. And it was like, right, put a team together to do this. And it required very specific training. So you had to pick the team early on.
Yeah.
And it was like these are people that are due. But my mate was just like, I want Yates to come with us. Like, I want him to come.
Yeah.
And he picked the team. And our brand new Sergeant Major was going to be our controller on the ground for that 6 months. So he was coming in. So I had like a brand new Sergeant Major I'd never worked with before because he'd been away from the unit my entire career to this point. Yeah. My mate just promoted up. And I've been promoted as well. And he was like, I want you to come. So yeah, it was kind of that simple. Like, you say it. I was basically said, listen, you've only had 10 months in the UK from landing at home to deploying 10 months. You don't have to say yes, but you know, it's been requested. Are you interested in going on this tour? And I'm like, yeah, because it's cowardice, isn't it? You can't go no.
Yeah, you can't say no to nothing, mate.
Yeah. So but I knew myself after my first tour that I weren't all right. I knew in my head that I weren't all right.
Had you started to have mental health issues beginning to creep in?
Yeah. And I knew then, and like I knew I shouldn't have gone on that tour on the second
tour. Back-to-back tours are known for compounding PTSD, aren't they?
But you know, the boy asks, and that's that. Like, your mates, you know, one of your best mates in the world, and there's no way I was going to say no.
Well, you'd let them down, aren't you?
I wouldn't live with myself on the other side if anything had gone wrong.
Yeah. So you went out again.
Went out again, came back, signed off. Then the guy who promised me a job in Iraq got me a job in Iraq.
So signing off, it's a big decision, isn't it? Because we say it quite flippantly, I signed off. It's not that it's easy to do, but it's a big decision, isn't it, to sign off from what is your life, isn't it?
Yeah. I remember like my last day in uniform, and I remember putting my uniform on and thinking, I've made a mistake. Like, I've made a mistake. I don't want to go through this. But it was too late then as well. Because that was like the awakening, the alarm bell for me, like, we're leaving this behind. We aren't this uniform anymore.
Yeah.
And I think I vividly remember it, like putting it on the last day in uniform before I was going my kit in, putting it on and looking in the mirror and thinking, I'll never be this man again. Like, this man, he will die when I end this uniform.
It's that identity, isn't it? You're giving up a lot. Signing off is such a massive deal. And I think it's something that most veterans, in fact, let me rephrase that. All serving personnel will never begin to appreciate the difficulty of that transition. Right, what I'm going to do, mate, I'm going to take a quick break. So I'm going to do a two-parter because this is really good.
Right.
And normally we're on in like nearly an hour already, and I'm nowhere near started with you. Right. So I'm going to have a piss. I'll stop the recording, come back, we'll start a part two. Okay, mate?
All right, mate. As long as I'm not boring you, we're all right.
No, mate, fuck me. I'm fascinated. Honestly, this is fucking good stuff. Give me 2 secs, mate.
All right, mate.